I am a fool. That is one thing for certain.
All right. We are recording. Let's go to YouTube, shall we? How about the news? News. Yeah, welcome to the Google News. Do you guys like, I just tried putting frosting on brownies. It was too much. It's pretty rich. That's not to say that it wasn't good, but it was pretty rich. Welcome to the spiritual news. So I figured, I could do this at least once a week, go through the news, see what the group collective is feeling and going through. Right now, the big focus is this Alex Preddy ICU doctor that got killed from a bunch of. So I was having a conversation with my brother, and it's like, we kill ourselves unconsciously. If you're not happy with what somebody else is doing, they're making their own choices. If people want to join a goon squad and try and control other people, for one thing, you have to think about where that's coming from. Usually it's coming from some kind of fear of something out there that can harm you. But if we're all immortal beings and just kind of reliving an experience over and over again, then that's kind of the fear of death is what causes that. So we always create control systems to try and protect ourselves if, that's what all this is about. And when you really think about what's the basis of what's going on there. But the group collective is getting angrier and angrier that they're being that people are attempting to control them externally, and it's all control through finance. The only reason we have a what's this? NTSB blames deep systemic failures for deadly mid-air collision near Washington. Oh wow, what happened there? Anyway. We're afraid of losing something, and so we try and as a group collective, I'm not saying we as a whole, but there's a percentage that want to try and restrict people that coming from in this country because it might have a financial impact on the country as a whole, and then people don't want that. They want to make sure that they're keeping whatever state of living that they're going through. But in order to really be successful, you have to surrender yourself to the bigger organism, right? Let's see. Washington. After a year-long investigation, the National Transportation Safety Board blamed multiple system-wide failures for mid-air collision of the Army Black Hawk helicopter, an American Airlines regional jet that killed 67 people. Wow. I had not heard of that. That's a tragic collision. Investigators identified an instrument failure in the Army helicopter, which likely made the pilots think they were flying 100 feet lower than they were. The NTSB report also described a chaotic situation in the air traffic control tower and incomplete communications between local controller and the helicopter pilots. But the chair of NTSB criticism, regulators, blah, blah. So I guess we could talk about this. This is a recent thing, and this is something that it always goes to the same point. The more you try to control something, the harder it is. Safety protocols, OSHA. I'm not saying it's not good to be aware of what you're doing, but that's the whole point. Awareness is everything. You can't keep somebody safe if their awareness is lower. That comes to safety, especially safety. There is no external application of regulations that's going to protect somebody who's unaware of what they're doing. They're going to cut their finger off. They're going to, So this is a perfect example where you've got external controls, a regulatory commission applying FAA rules. I'm assuming that, this is part of that. I don't know what the NTSB stands for. but Federal Aviation Administration is the FAA that regulates, air traffic. And if nobody in the control tower and they're confused about what's going on, and maybe the position of the aircraft was showing different than what they're reporting, that's probably the cause of the confusion. But you cannot create regulations to keep accidents from happening, because it always happens from an internal state of the people that are involved in that. And there's some lack of awareness where you're in conflict with your environment. I witnessed the same thing happen on my job, where there was a lack of awareness, and so communication breaks down between people. And so when the organism doesn't communicate correctly, then there's an accident and something happens. This happens on a deep level, because when you're surrounded by people that have certain fears about communicating with each other or how they show up for one another, then you guys have witnessed it. We're all in different states of awareness. And if you're watching this channel, it's probably because you resonate with maybe spiritual practices, and because everything comes down to spirit. How well you're able to communicate to the body and heal the body, and give suggestions that the body can heal itself of anything. So we, as becoming more aware of ourselves, are going to be more in positions to ground out conflict and pull people out of conflict. There's no reason to be in conflict with those people that want to control you. Walk away. Create a structure. So I want to go over one more thing here. Let's go over news about community. Community news. Today's latest updates. We'll go with the U.S. News and World Report. Community life and independent living. Communities provide social connection and enrichment activities for older adults. My dad was in a rehab facility, and it does create connection, and he did like it there, but they treat you like you're old, and they don't encourage you to, I shouldn't say that. They do their best, but there's always a lot of times what we see isn't, if we're just pulling the past into the present, then we have no ability to create the future that we have in our mind in the present. Detaching and not becoming attached to material reality is really important to be able to live a long and healthy life, independent of what you look like or how because now you're creating your state of being and you're creating your own health. That happens on many different levels, and as far as what we're putting into our bodies and all those things. But when it comes to communication, and I want to show, community. The best time to move. It's interesting that when I look up community, that the first thing that comes up is like healthcare. Healthiest communities data show even adjacent communities can face wide gaps in health and well-being. It's true. Depends how communities are structured and how well the people are a part of that community. The more isolated you get, and people talk about independence all the time, but the more isolated you get, generally, if you're not communicating with the rest of the body or the organism very well, and you're not aware of what it's going through, then a lot of times there's dysfunction, which is why I'm making this channel. I'm doing YouTube videos on YouTube, because this is my point of entry into YouTube. But if I'm not working together with somebody, which I happen to be on the side, then I wouldn't be, right? You want to work with people and build things together. And the group collective is learning to do that. I don't really have it. It always sounds like it, I have agenda, and I do, but I have agenda for the healing of the human mind and heart. because the hearts want to grow closer and they want to structure themselves into a healthy organism. Our hearts don't want to flop around separately and feel like we're isolated from, but people have to get in the right space in order for it to be fun to be around one another. Because if you're constantly putting yourself into situations that are causing stress and structures that cause stress, then your time spent out of those systems are just grounding out stress and fear and anxiety. And maybe that is what much of what this is. But, I'm looking at my front page on YouTube. And what do we see? Steve-O tells Manyard what's wrong with Tool albums. Who cares? There's really nothing wrong with Tool albums. They're a creator, and whatever they create is perfect for them. I love Tool. Rogan wrecks Trump's entire Saturday. Oh my God. Who cares? Trump right now is probably one of the biggest focal figures in the world. I want you guys to think about this one. How much energy is Trump focusing? When you're standing on a stage and let's say you got 50,000 people staring at you, that's an energetic exchange. So you can use that energy, and that's why performers love performing, because you're in front of a huge audience and the energy of the crowd is directed at you. You can channel that energy. That's the same for any of these people. Joe Rogan or Bill Burr, who's standing there. Why Arnold Schwarzenegger slept with the maid. I had heard that one. I don't think we need to watch that one. But any of these things, right? I mean, any of these people, it becomes an addictive quality if you're focusing that much energy. For me personally, and I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I would rather interact with 10 people and co-create something and be in a healthy community where the spotlight doesn't have to go through me. Not that I'm afraid of it, but it could go through anybody. It doesn't have to go through any one person. Because we all have the ability to entertain one another, as long as we let go of any kind of fears or inhibitions. I love Bill Burr because he doesn't give a shit. He just tells whatever he thinks he needs to say in order to get the biggest reaction. Everything about him is reactionary. If he thinks he can get a reaction out of you, he's going to do it. And he's good at it. I mean, the stuff that he comes up with is priceless. It's totally reactionary. I love it. Pause. This is for you. It's time to tap into that inner knowing. You're welcome, Deborah Lee, if you're getting advertising here. If you guys are interested in her channel, I mean, we could, I'm not here to look at anybody else's channel. I'm just talking about the spiritual news and rambling on about the group collective's ability to be self-aware and what we all really want. And we'll never be connected and creating a mutual vision and dream of a really healthy way to be together until we break down the barriers of fear and anxiety and all those things that separate us. Because either when you look at nature, and I know that you guys probably watch a lot of YouTube channels, but when you look at nature does two things. Either it grows apart and then it tries to find itself through the growing apart and the incoherence to create a new structure that grows together, or it doesn't. Our own bodies are made up of DNA strands that are connected in a ladder matrix, because that's the most simplest way to move and contain energy. Each rung of the ladder could be looked at as capacitance, and then the sides of the ladder is a way to move the capacitance. That is the most efficient way to hold and move energy in a field. And so we become one of the most complex structures that you can build within the field of intelligence around us in order to move and hold energy and information. So if you're not structuring yourself as a consciousness with other entities to both move and receive information, you're limiting the amount of information and coherence that you can move and receive in the field. This is a logical conclusion, and it becomes an emotional one as well, because what is it? I mean, from the outside, somebody who doesn't understand it could say, oh, he's got an agenda to create community. Well, I do and I don't. I don't care what happens. But I'm just telling you from a logical perspective that we as people would be much happier if we abandoned the idea that we need to sell ourselves for anything and create and receive together. And then structure ourselves in a way that allows us to hold more information and energy in the body, because in the body, you're just channeling information and energy. That's what all these people are doing who found a living, working on YouTube. Deborah Lee, she's channeling information and energy on her YouTube channel. And she must enjoy doing it, or else why would she do it? It is January 28th, 2026. What happened 30 years ago? I don't know. I'm just rambling on. Wanted to get in front of the camera today. I've only been doing Friday YouTube lives, and so I wanted to talk to you guys for a little while. What is there else to talk about? What is the group collective doing? It's every reader that you're seeing out there will be talking about some kind of relationship issue, because at our core, our memories and all of our interactions are the only reason why we're here is the relationship that we have with one another. And if we can recognize that all we are creators and receivers / experiencers, then wouldn't it make sense to create the best structure that would create the best relationship possible instead of some kind of narcissistic centralized control structure? Wouldn't it? Instead of looking like a virus, we could look like a healthy organism if we wanted to. But people generally, people talk about human nature, but that's not necessarily true. It's the nature of something to act according to its own understanding. So if we try to talk about human nature and what human nature is, it's varied across the board of different states of awareness, because we're moving from a less animalistic state of awareness, thinking that we need to protect ourselves and feed on our environment or die, back into more co-creative way of working together and understanding who and what we are, because consciousness is non-local. I can't claim to be, if I claim to be little Brian, then I'm actually limiting my state of awareness. You can feel and experience anything within the field. It's just that, and it's directly relative to our ability to detach from any kind of emotional attachment that pulls us in a direction that makes us think that we need to think about this one thing. Yeah. So what are you guys going through right now? That's a good question. It's that ability, the relationship with yourself, and then how that manifests itself in the people around you. The organism as a whole, we don't get the news from that, and I guess this is part of the reason why I'm going through the news, is we see the news on the surface of people bad-mouthing each other for their actions because of their own unawareness. How can we blame anybody for blindness? The truth is that the pain that we break through from breaking through attachments is how we grow. We grow through pain. And so the pain isn't something to be poo-pooed. It's something to be embraced. Martial artists talk about the embracement of pain. So if we're not embracing pain, then we're not moving past wherever that pain point is. And we're limiting our awareness because there's a pain point that we won't go past. I think I can probably stop talking for today. I just wanted to get on here and talk about general bullshit, because I love you guys. And I talk about this stuff all the time to my friends and family. And if I'm going to talk about it with them, I'm going to talk about it with the world at large, so that people understand how to grow and create healthy boundaries and create healthy relationships. And I encourage you, if you're going to encourage people around them to start creating and co-creating and doing it in a balanced way, where you're all sharing in the the fruits of whatever it is you're doing. And it's always positive, and it's not attached to the outcome. And you'll live a really good, healthy life. Catch you guys later. See you on the next one.